Morning, Bill. How are you?
I am okay. I need to adjust one thing real quick. But audio input. This reset. Sometimes I do a good job of fixing it, and sometimes I don't. So hold on 1 second. There he is. There he is. Now we're good. Now I can hear him. What's going on, man?
Not much. It's a slow get up morning. With all this rain yesterday and today. It's been a little draggy.
Yeah. Little bit. Because it stopped raining in the afternoon, and I took a phone call out there and was just kind of like pacing around, man, and it was soupy, right?
Yeah.
I know that Texas are known for like over complaining about weather and how hot it is and everything, but
Sure.
yeah, it's been very rainy. So
Yeah.
past couple of days.
It's all good though. It is interesting. June showers like this is just kind of crazy.
Absolutely.
Cool. So how was your day yesterday? How was your 4:30? Because I saw your comments. I didn't want to tell you too much.
Rough. It was rough. I'm going to be really honest about it because so much of like work is just kind of threaded throughout my existence, right? So I read for a little bit, and then good morning, Gabriel. Then had dinner. Like the day felt like it took forever. And it was sorry, man.
No, it's good time.
Like I didn't even really let myself get onto like Facebook because I know how much I'll just kind of just start working a little bit and stuff like this. So had dinner, did handstands, hung out with the family. Yeah, it was good. Yeah, it just felt like forever. And then my journaling last night, like it was so work focused. Like I was trying very hard to like stop. And the way that I journal is kind of like stream of consciousness. Can't talk. And so it was. I'd be like, okay, that's work, and I'd stop and reset, and then I'd start going again. All of a sudden, okay, that's work, stop and reset, and then I had 3 really cool ideas like that were awesome, right? Because normally when I'm journaling after like a 12-hour day, it's just like, okay, Ellie, how could today be better? And I had this conversation with my friend Charles, and we were talking about the power of these questions. And Charles is a guy who like specializes in questions, right? And he was like, it's all about how you frame the question, right? And thinking about this, there's this new thing of like when you Google any 3 numbers in 3 cases or in new cases. There's some conspiracy theorists who think that Google is just making this stuff up. And I'm like, there's so many cities that have been tracking COVID numbers forever. Like the articles are not the same with the number changed. And then also, so I was trying very hard not to go down that rabbit hole too far because it's just like, okay, there's so many cities. We've been tracking this data for so long. Any 3 numbers is not that big of a sample size. Right. You guys are just looking for conspiracies at this point. So it was good. I think I'm going to do the same thing today.
Okay.
So that's one of my big 3. I had a couple of people who were seemingly game on after the role play call, and now they're kind of like, well, let me think about this, and I'm kind of like, cool, okay. Not your jam. I'll give up the spot, And one person was like, "Well, I don't want to do that." It's like, well, it's kind of the only other option. So, not malicious, but so do I write about my failures or fears in your journaling? Sometimes, right? It kind of depends upon what rises to the top. There's a woman. Oh, and I just blanked on her name, but she wrote this book called Morning Pages, and it's all about, The Artist's Way, and it's all about using like stream of consciousness to get it out of your head and onto paper, so that way it limits your internal critic, so that way you're not overly critical about the art that you're producing. And my grandmother told me about this book like in 2001, and it was really helpful for a little bit. and this is back before I was this version of me. And so I recently kind of gone back to it, and just in the form of questions. So it's been pretty powerful. So, but sometimes it's failure, sometimes it's success, sometimes it's, what do I really want to be doing, right? If all bills are paid and I don't need money. So, not to go too far down that journaling tangent, because Jake, you haven't talked at all.
Welcome to John's show. This is
Sorry, guys.
Production.
Sorry, guys. Yeah.
Well, I do the same thing. I always heard it called the SOC method, stream of consciousness, and that. I think the longer I have done journaling in my life, the more I kind of can see how the inner critic can take that whole thing over, and even through therapy and some different things. That's actually some of the worst things you can do for yourself is to focus on the things that you don't like. So I've taken a different spin of trying to make it just more clinical. You even talked about it yesterday a little bit. Okay, here's the things that happened today. I'm now detached from the emotions of it because I'm just sitting back and looking at what was good, what was bad, what can I, like sorting almost.
Yeah.
But I still do quite a bit of just, I don't know if it's fear and failure, but it's like, why do I feel this way? Why do I feel this way about this thing versus just why am I not happy? Which is a totally different frame, right?
Yeah.
So,
and the Joe Dispenza books do very good job of kind of talking about this idea that the more you tell yourself certain things, the more you make those things true, right? And things like this in the quantum field. Good morning, Michelle. And that's very much a thing, right? So when I'm journaling, it's much more about not like, okay, why am I not at this level yet or something like this? It's much more about how am I going to feel when that thing happens, right? Because when you can think about the emotional side of it and the physical side of it, then what happens is, you can actually start to wrap your head around these concepts that might have been out of reach for you at some point. And I know that sounds incredibly woo-woo, right? Like if everybody I knew is watching this part of this show right now, they're gonna be like, "Oh man."
Yeah, let's put this clip out.
Yeah, John's gone down a bender.
No, I think
it's true.
Yeah, I think I like now so much that there's science starting to back some of the things that like just seemed like old wives' tales, or they seemed like weird. I would go across the board. There's all sorts of interesting things happening in the world that aren't ours, but now there's science to start backing, and like that, the brain stuff, it's programming, and you talk to yourself the most. You're the voice you hear the most. So you need to, affirmations, I used to think were really stupid. And I'm like, well, why wouldn't I tell myself, hey, you're going to have a great day. Hey, you're going to be really productive today. What's wrong with that? Because I'm telling myself, my brain hears it. And then I think there's a difference between that sort of stuff and journaling for posterity or journaling for learning versus it's like a different style, I guess, if you will.
I think
same tools, but different style of it.
So in the beginning, I really needed the affirmational stuff, right? Like, I needed buckets of it because, had no confidence, struggling at everything. And so for the first 3 years of journaling, it was just like affirmational stuff. I am worth this much money. This is my superpower. No one can do these things better than I can, and that was helpful for getting up out of the hole is kind of like how I think about it. And then like once you're out of the hole, right, and you're still wanting to like climb, you got to change the process a little bit, right? Just like when you're walking from the town to the base camp, right, where you're about to start to climb, it's a walk, right, and then after that you have to actually start climbing. So I think that the method that you use for improvement has got to change at a certain point, and in the beginning, like you're too fragile to like criticism and like some of these things, right? When we talk about people having thick skin, well, having thick skin is a product of comes from knowing where you are and having some clarity and being built up enough to a point where you can take some constructive criticism. And affirmational journaling is good for that, but I think once you get above a certain point, it's got to shift a little bit towards that way. you start to question yourself about the things that you believe to see if it's really helping you or not.
Right. And Gabriel says neuroplasticity. That's the field of science of changing your brain. But yeah, I agree. And I actually think, like the milk to meat, like when you're a kid, you're on milk, and the older you get, the more kind of advanced complex nutrition you start putting in your body, right? Same ideas.
Liquor.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah. But yeah, so it's a whole thing, right? Who knew this was going to be a show about journaling today?
I mean, what's funny is like I've been on the journaling bus for a number of years, right? I've been talking about it and stuff, and now I'm so excited to sit down like each and every day. Whereas before it was like this like struggle, and that I thought that there was value in the struggle, and there is some value in the struggle as far as being gritty and all these things that are important. But now it's like it's so effortless, and it's like so, and like there's work stuff in here, but there's also personal stuff, and like it's just I've never looked forward to something like this much. Like I'll get excited about books and stuff like this, but this idea of like, cool, I can't wait to sit down and journal. Like,
yeah,
get giddy about it,
Yeah. It's funny how much mindset runs everything in our life, and how little I cared about it 5 years ago.
Oh, so when Jeff started to work on his sleep, whenever we were working together, so 4 years or so ago, he started going to bed at like 9 and waking up at 4, and I was like, God, what a brutal existence, just terrible, man. And now I'm like, I want that, and then I was telling this to somebody else. I'm the worst judge of like how I look, right? I mean, we all are. So instead of making those decisions for myself and maybe making bad ones, eventually I'm going to outsource those ideas, right? And I can remember watching TV like as a kid, and you see that family sitcom, and the husband doesn't buy his own clothes, right? The wife picks them out and stuff. And I can remember thinking like, man, no way, bro. Not me. Never going to happen. And now I'm like, why, right? Like I've got huge goals. There's better people equipped to make sure that I'm, looking that part and working towards that stuff. So just let them do it.
I remember actually, I was a part of the network marketing group like 15 years ago. And one of the guys that was speaking up front was like the double diamonds, like the big guy who made all the money. And he was like, if you mow your yard, you're not serious about this business. If you clean your house, you're not serious about this business, right? And I was like, oh my God, oh God, like so much, holy cow! And so, but I realized that what he was actually, I think, trying to convey was like, there's better things to do with your time than all of these.
Yeah.
If you enjoy it, if you like yard work and it's therapeutic, go do it. But guess what? You don't have to. Pay somebody to do it and go do what you're supposed to do. So I get that now, but. The way he presented it was pretty stupid, though. It was pretty macho.
I read a book about that same idea of like outsourcing the things that you don't want it, and I think it's called like Take the Stairs or something like that. It's in my Audible, and the guy kind of says the same thing, right? You gotta take the stuff out of your life that doesn't help you, so that way you have more focus for the things that are important, right? And so he talks about, hey, if you don't enjoy mowing your yard, pay somebody else to do it. If you don't like doing your laundry, pay somebody else to do it, because that means that you don't have to do a rep of making a hard decision, because that takes away the ability of having the right decision in play later on, right? Like you can only make so many hard decisions throughout the day, and then your decision muscle just gets taxed, and then you start automatically making bad decisions because you say, you know what, I've been so good today. Right, I had the salad at lunch, so let me have like the cake at dessert and stuff like that. Right. And for some people, it doesn't even resolve that way. It's just like, oh God, I'm tired. I'm just gonna have the cake.
Yeah, well, and that's one of my biggest lifelong struggles is sugar. And so as I'm over 40 now, like I can't just be reckless like I used to be. Like it shows up now, and my energy levels and stuff. Not just like, oh, I'm getting soft around the belly. It's like. I'm like struggling at 3 o'clock because I had sugar yesterday, like my sleep patterns were interrupted, like all sorts of stuff like that. So, like, I think this, like, goes back to the whole thing of, do you live your life and you frame your life in a way that you know what you want to do today and what you want to do this week, and you ignore the feelings. It's not ignore. You take in the feelings and say, great, but I'm doing this instead, right? I feel this way, but I'm going to do this way. I think that's a lot of what I took from this, because I started this whole journey, this productivity effectiveness stuff in work, like in my 20s, like, oh, I'm going to plow, dude. I got to get this many hours. I'm going to get this much done. But then the more I did it, the more I realized it was just like a lifestyle. And I was like, how can I take this into my sleep, into my eating, into my relationships, like planning, for trips and like all this different stuff. And I think still that's the last one for me is the sugar, is because there's that dopamine and there's that, more addictive than crack thing that sugar hits, and that I still haven't kicked yet, that I'm looking forward to conquering.
Yeah, man, it's just work in progress, right? I mean, trying to like explain this idea to like other people of like, hey, the more you control the things around yourself with purpose, the easier it is to widen that circle. Yeah. is kind of a foreign concept to people, because they're still stuck in the hole, right? And like, this is not to say that I've got everything figured out. I absolutely do not, right? I mean, I pull 10 to 12-hour days in here on the regular, so like it's not dialed in as much as I want and stuff like this. It is still a work in progress, but once you start to take control of like everything and like own your decisions, right? Own them completely, whether good, bad, otherwise, right? Like, it's the mark of a good leader, right? And not everybody here wants to run a company and have people under them, and that's totally fine. Right. But if that is your goal, leadership is about making decisions, right? And then good leadership is about owning those decisions no matter the outcome, and just making sure that you're communicating well, in my opinion. So, the more you can do that for yourself, and we're working on this with Alice, because I'm like, hey, we talked about this, how come you didn't do it? Well, I forgot. Or she'll say, I don't know. And I'm like, I don't like that answer. She's like, because I forgot. And I'm like, okay, cool. Can we do it? Because like, I'm trying to build that habit of just like getting her to think about taking responsibility for these things as opposed to just shrugging it off. Yeah, no. Do you ever ask her okay, great, how can we not forget next time? What's something we can do different? Oh, I mean, that's my favorite question, to the point that it's like almost lost its impact, because I do ask a lot. Exactly. So, that is really the name of the game, right? Like, the minute you realize that things are not on the path that you are, you have to stop and say, okay, like, how do we get back on track? Right. But that takes time. So it does. Our formatting is way off today, bro. What's your big three? That's right. We're going to close strong. So I got ops report started yesterday. I went through my call. I got a little bit of stuff done. I got stuck, so I have another like 15-minute call that I'm going to hopefully help them get my newsletter onboarded today. Nice. I've got some more module work for Content Camp today. I've got that's the second one, and then the third one. 10 asks, because I got off task end of last week. I only got 7 one day, and then yesterday I got like 3. So I need to get back on there. So I'm putting in my big 3 today. How many? Do we have a goal for the number of people that should be hitting the group each month? We do. We done that? Okay. Yeah. Are you on track to hit that goal with the number of asks? Yeah, I'm close. Okay, good. It's pacing good. I can see it's like this. So nice. It's in there. Nice. Okay, cool. Because like, I was thinking about this idea last night of, KPIs are meant to be a leading indicator, but they're still a leading indicator, right? There's still some lag to them. Is really, I guess, the way to like talk about that. Because like, I was thinking last night of like, what is my main KPI? So my main KPI is to have 5 conversations with decision makers each week, right? So however I get there is kind of up to me, right? There's Facebook, there's LinkedIn, there's doing the role-playing calls and stuff like that. But it has to resolve to like a KPI later on that is still ahead of revenue, right? So for Jake, the KPI is getting people into his free group, his free accountability group. So when we were starting this, his goal was to get a certain number of people in there each month. And I've kind of forgotten, and not on purpose, but kind of slipped away from the idea of like, hey, we do have that number, and are we tracking to that number? Because sometimes these leading indicators have to adjust because they're not getting you to the places that you want.
Yeah, well, and that's the whole point, is we do what we have with the data we have, and then we make adjustments. And if you don't measure it, then you can't make adjustments that are smart or that make any sense. Otherwise, you're just like, I'll try this month.
Yeah. So my big three are, I have the podcast interview that I talked about yesterday got rescheduled. And then a call with a client got rescheduled to today. So my day sounds very similar to what yesterday was. And then I've got 4:30 done time. Okay, so yesterday I went to a client's office, right? I don't do this very often anymore, but they were having some email problems. I drove down to Cleburne, which I didn't realize was 40 minutes away. So it was 40 minutes down there. They had a couple of computers that I set up for them and stuff like this. So essentially I was gone for 3 hours yesterday, and I was expecting it to be about an hour, and I was still done at 4:30. So
wow, that's why you were like, "What? It's 4:30?"
Yeah. I looked up and was unhappy about the fact that it was 4:30, but Melissa was like, come on, like this didn't go according to plan. I'm like, I know, but Friday won't either. Right. And Thursday we're going to be recording the podcast at 6:30 at night. So that's obviously going to be making me work past 4:30. So let me just go ahead and knock these things out so that way they're done. So
yeah, which means your Tuesday and Wednesday mornings need to be tight. Yep.
Yeah.
All right.
And Wednesday mornings are rough, but
Wednesdays are rough for me.
That's not me.
Very tough. All right. Well, Bill, let's go do a Tuesday.
Let's go kill a Tuesday. Like let's go make it the best Tuesday ever.
Best Tuesday ever.
Awesome, man. I'll see you in the morning.
All right.